but they're also buying you. So when you combine that together, if you take confidence and you take you, what do you have? You have a confident you. So they want to be confident in you. You have to be confident. And that's really what they're going to buy. Because at the end of the day, when they go to sleep at night, they have to be confident that the decision that they made with you was the right decision. You know what I mean? So anyways, if you're organized, that's going to make the client trust you more. If you're detail oriented and you're not, you know, kind of disheveled or unorganized, then you're going to seem more trustworthy. They're like, wow, this person takes their time. This person is so detail oriented that there's literally not one thing off on their screen. They're perfectly centered right in the middle of the screen. It's wild how they have their things positioned right behind them, like their award right here, their award. Look how everything's positioned. And then it was so like meticulous and well thought out and but he took his time. He was able to explain things in detail when needed. The words were sharp. Not only was his outfit sharp, his words were sharp. Spoke with conviction. Just like you would want a doctor who is responsible for doing heart surgery on your son, you would want to have the utmost confidence in that person. I need to buy the doctor, but I need to be confident in this doctor. And after meeting with the doctor, I was so much more confident before he did the heart surgery on my son, 3 of them. So your clients need to be so confident in you that they would let you do heart surgery on one of their family members. Just by the way that you carry yourself, by the confidence that you instill in your ability to get the job done for them. Because you're so organized, you're so detailed, you care, it shows. You didn't get all dressed up for nothing. That's where the closing starts. Before you can say any words, you know, you can already have them listening, because your words will fall on deaf ears. I could give you the best script in the world, but if you look like a mess, they're not even going to listen to you. You got about 15 seconds to make a first impression. So before you even turn that camera on, make sure you do a trial run. I'd set the camera up. Like today's a bad example. Casey got on the call, was moving the camera all around. I don't do that. If you see me run these meetings, when you see me run the meetings, before the meeting, I make sure the camera. What if I was running the group today and you got your personal in here and he's a superstar and he's coming for work here? Man, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And he shows up and I'm over here like this. Is this thing on? Hold on. Let me move it around here. Sorry, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be pretty silly. So think about the just very, very initial first impression that we make when we just boom, hop right on this Zoom call with the client. See, now I'm going to be moving this thing around. That's all right. We'll fix this later. Okay. So, but trust me, I have to run the group today at 11, and I'm going to take probably a good 5-10 minutes, and this thing is going to be positioned like perfectly. I'm probably going to switch to use this one actually. I have a different one. This one sits up a little bit higher than that one, and I like the angle of that camera a little bit better than the one like shooting this like more direct on. So I'm probably going to do that. But I've been playing around with it, and hopefully you guys are playing around with your camera angles and always trying to make it better and something that the clients, when they tune into, they're so used to tuning into the things that are already planned, like the news. It's all proportioned on that TV screen. They position people perfectly on there. So, you know, you don't want to look, obviously, you know, disheveled or anything. You could use it to your advantage a little bit. So anyways, all right. So going after we talk about the 3 things: rapport, presentation, close. We all know the triangles. If I drew them on the board, you know, you can have a normal triangle, and then you can have an upside down triangle. And basically in the first part, you could have your rapport, your presentation, and your close. If you spend a little bit of time building rapport and you give a normal presentation, you're going to spend a lot of time having to close. If you dedicate the right amount of not just time, but if you build the right rapport with the client, you're still going to give the same presentation you were giving over here, but you're only going to have to close this much. So I don't know if you've ever seen those triangles or whatnot, but that's the first thing that I think about, you know, when I think about closing is I think about those triangles. And what we have to do is we have to make sure that we don't skip the rapport. Can't just skip it. You have to fill it out, give it the right amount of time. And after you do the rapport, the next part is the presentation. Here's what I got to do with that. I just can't mess it up. I can't take the script out and put my own words in. I just got to do the scripted presentation. So as long as I do my good scripted presentation, I'm professional with it, the close at the end, because I did good rapport, is going to be minimal. I've done it before where I've walked into a house, this family, their daughter sitting at the table with us. They needed the life insurance. They didn't have any. They had like 10,000 through work or something silly. Was obviously not going to be enough. So if she would pass away, it'd be in a mess. And I knew this. I showed them this. They knew it, but they didn't buy from me. And I still kick myself to this day. I'm like, what the heck happened in that house? Like, how the heck did this client not buy from me? And after going back, hindsight's 2020, you know, I realized what I did is I walked right into that house and I just pretty much started presenting to her. I didn't build no rapport at all. The daughter came over and I had an iPad at the time or something. I had some sort of like pad for kids. Anytime a kid came over, just to keep them occupied while I presented to the parents. So I gave her that. And that was pretty much the extent of like any rapport, but everything else was great. Presentation was great. I gave her all my best closes in the book and they were falling on deaf ears. You know what I mean? Like I had a great presentation. It's just like, it just wasn't really clicking with her because I didn't build any rapport at all. So that was one of the lessons I learned is they could need it. You could have everything that and they're not going to buy. So anyways, going down to, through your presentation, you want to keep your presentation consistent. If we're always changing our presentation, then you don't have a presentation. Like if you said, let me see your golf swing. And then every time you swing it differently, you don't got a golf swing. You know what I mean? You have to have a consistent everything to it. Everything got to be consistent. And then from there, you can have Tiger Woods come and watch you and give you advice. Okay, now I see what you're doing. Every time you swing, this is your swing. You're doing it like this, okay? What I want you to do now is I want you to keep your wrist straight more. Do the same thing, but just keep your wrist straight. And he's going to give you these small little pointers to help adjust your presentation. And you're not going to be able to get any results that are going to give us any, so every time you hit the ball, if you hit it the same way every time, you're going to find out that your ball always slices to the right, every time, slices to the right. Well, at least we know that's the problem. So for you, if every time you do a presentation, it's the same way, right? And we find out that you're getting smaller checks and your closing ratio is low because you get a high amount of, I want to think about it. Okay. Well, based upon your last 10, 20, or 30 presentations, it's very consistent. So now we know what we can work on to improve. Like Kobe Bryant said that his first year, he had young legs. His legs weren't strong. So by the time the end of the year came, all his shots were right on target, but they're all falling short. He said, I know what I got to work on. I got to work on my leg strength. And he, at least he knew what he had to work on, which is huge. It's half the battle really, is knowing what we got to work on. And now let's imagine though, the golfer goes out there and every time he hits the ball, one goes straight, one goes backwards, one goes to the left, one goes to the right, one doesn't go anywhere at all. And every time he hits it, it's just something wild and different. And he's swinging differently every time. Tiger Woods, I don't even know where to start with you. There's no consistency to anything. I can't even give you any feedback on that. So it's like if somebody's in sales and they're changing their presentation up every single time. So one time they get referrals, next time they don't get no referrals, this time they get told no, this time they couldn't even get through the benefits, this time they got the guy bought off them. So, and then we don't really have any consistent feedback because there's all different wild reasons because we all gave different presentations. So the key is to keep our presentation as consistent as possible. If you have a script and the way that you ask for child safe referrals or accidental death and dismemberment referrals, you guys know in the state of Illinois, we can give out people free life insurance. We can give somebody, if you sat down with somebody, say, hey, right now our company typically works with just unions and organizations just like yourself, but for a limited time, they're allowing you to sponsor up to 10 family members and friends to receive $2,000 of life insurance from our company at no cost for them, just because you're sponsoring them into the program today. So Joe, who would be the first person that you need to get this life insurance over to? Who's the first person that we need to get this over to? You want to maybe even grab your phone. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll go through their phone. They'll go from like the A's all the way down to the Z's. That way we don't miss anybody, and we could at least make sure that your top 10 people in your family at least get protected for this life insurance right now. So if that's how you say it like that every single time, and then let's see how the results work. And then you might be like, it works until I get to 3, and then I get stuck there. Okay, well, good. Let's figure out what we need to do to get to 10. You say, you know what? They don't even let me get to it because they stop me right here all the time. All right, well, let's figure that out. So have a consistent way of doing that. Child safe. You know, Joe and Mary, the police and firefighters, you know, they're asking for your help in protecting the community. And what's nice is they're not asking for any monetary donations right now, but what they are asking for is for us to make sure that we sponsor at least 10 other families to get these child safety kits to them as well. So they're looking for 10 families with kids under the age of 18 that we need to make sure have these child safety kits, Joe and Mary. So who would be the first family that we'd want to make sure to get these over to? Would probably, you said your sister, I mean, you said your sister got a full house over there. So we'll probably want to make sure we get them on to your, okay. And that was your oldest sister. What was your oldest sister's name? Okay. Kimberly. That's right. Okay. Perfect. Is that where you have all the parties over her house? And boom, I'd start going through Kimberly and then all the names. And then one thing is if you go in the rapport building, you say, do you got a lot of family that live around your area too? Is that like where your whole family's from? You know, and I might say, where's your tribe from? Used to call them tribes back in the day, right? So, okay, so I know, you know, my mom would always come over to see the grandkids all the time. Does your parents live close by? Oh, that's a blessing. A mile up the road. Are you over there more, or are they over your house more? Right? So, I mean, the kids, do the kids go over grandma's house a lot? And then when they tell me the kids go over grandma's house, when I get to the child safe portion of it, I just say, well, I know the kids are always over grandma's house. So we're definitely going to have to make sure she has child safety kits for her as well. Let's get your parents' names. So there's an easy one you could snatch up. Okay. But the point is be consistent with it when you're doing that. And then when you get down through the benefits. So, let's do a ABC close because it's pretty darn easy. The ABC close is so easy. I'll use a freedom of choice certificate as an example. I don't actually have one with me, but we could just role play, imagine. So I would say, so Joe, we'll use this maybe you could use it for a senior, You could use this off of the needs analysis as well. But let's just say that I'm not using a needs analysis for this client. Okay. I would just sit down and show them like as I say. So Joe and Mary, one of the big problems and major concerns right now is funeral and final arrangements. Joe and Mary, do you know how much the average funeral costs today? And then let them talk. And whatever they say, yeah. And they say 5,000. I'm like, yeah, it's typically right now between about $10,000 and $15,000. But the concern is not the cost today, but what the cost is going to be in the future. Because if you look at inflation, they're saying the average funeral 20 to 30 years from now is going to be around $25,000 to $30,000. And what they found is most of the families that were responsible for servicing, more blue collar families, they typically do not have $25,000 to $30,000 set aside. And if they did, it definitely wasn't set aside to go to a funeral director. So a lot of times what will happen is if one of our members were to pass away, the first major expense that the family's hit with is a funeral. I mean, you could imagine if someone passes away on a Monday, when are they typically having that funeral? When are they being laid out? Maybe a Thursday or a Friday. And what they say is today a funeral is a lot like a wedding, with all the planning and everything that goes involved with it. I mean, if you think about planning a wedding, you got to figure out everybody is coming, all the family, all the friends, people you didn't even think about show up for a wedding. Where's it going to be? What color we're going to be having for this? Where's the flowers going to come from? Who's going to organize all of it? Where's the food going to be? Who's going to pay for all of this? And what the good thing is a wedding is you got a year, sometimes 2 years to plan all this out. And it's typically a pretty happy event. We have to do all of that we just talked about. Figure where the food's coming from, dress, call everybody, get the list together, handle everything. And we have 2 or 3 days to get all that done. So what they found is that the funerals can be very chaotic. So what the groups and the organizations have done is they put in place for all the members a freedom of choice certificate. And the freedom of choice certificate is going to be guaranteed to take care of all of your funeral and final arrangements so that the family doesn't have to. And the way this will work, Joe, is this will be a permanent benefit for the rest of your life. So what this means is no matter what, wherever, whenever, however you pass away, this is going to be guaranteed to be in place so that your funeral is never burdened to your family. So Mary, what you would do is this certificate right here, whenever Joe passes away, you simply just take this certificate down to the funeral home, any funeral home that you'd like, hand it over to the funeral director, and everything's taken care of right there on the spot. Okay. Now, now, Joe, like I said, this is meant to make one of the most worst times of your life just a little bit easier. So that's something you could slide in there as well. So for you, Joe, the way this would work for you is that right now, if you take a look at your age, you're 57 years old. So from 57 on this, this is the life expectancy sheet, and I'll pull it up on the screen. Usually I have it in person. And I say, if you're 57, you're expected to live to be 87. So that means another 30 years. And if you take a look, 30 years from now, that's going to put us out to 2050. So this sheet right here, this is called the funeral inflation chart. Now, historically, inflation has been between 3-4% in the United States. So funerals are no different. Are you familiar with inflation, Joe? So what they say is about every 20 or so years, the cost of things typically double, right? Well, what they found with inflation for funerals is right now the average funeral in 2020 looks like it's between $15,000 and $18,000. Well, if you take over 20 and we slide all the way over to where it says 2050 on here, the average funeral is going to be projected to be between $30,000 and $35,000. Okay, so that's what the projected funeral cost would be for you. So what they did for you, Joe, is they went ahead and set you up with your freedom of choice certificate to make sure that that is never going to be a burden for your family. Okay, now for Mary, you are 52. You're projected to live to be 88. You got another how many years? That's going to put you all the way out to here. Based upon this funeral inflation chart, your funeral is going to be $35,000 to $40,000 for your funeral. So what they did for you, Mary, is they set you up with a freedom of choice certificate as well. The way this will work, this will guarantee to take care of all of your funeral and final arrangements so that your family doesn't have to. Joe, in this situation, you would be responsible for taking care of the freedom of choice certificate for the family. Okay, Joe? But let's just say, you know, God forbid you're not here. Let's say you passed away first. Who do you think would take care of the funeral and final arrangements for your wife? Your daughter? Okay, so your daughter would handle this. So whether it was you or whether it was your daughter, you guys would make sure you'd have this freedom of choice certificate to make sure that Mary's funeral is never burdened to the family ever again. And what this is going to do, this is going to put you guys in control at one of the worst days of your life. What they found right now is that when one of our members passes away, they found that the families either deplete their savings, borrow money, and a lot of times they're going into debt at one of the worst times of their life after they just lost a best friend. And if you can't afford to pay for a funeral, most funeral directors right now are legally allowed to charge over up to 22% interest on any money that you don't pay out to them. So they want half up front and the other half within 30 days. Anything not paid within 30 days, they can legally charge up to 22%. So for you, Joe, the first option, what they would have for you, now I'd have a sheet of paper and say option A. Option A for Joe, it would say maybe 50,000. So I'll say, so Joe, the way this would work, they have three, they set you up with option A. Option A, what this would do for you is this will put $50,000 of guaranteed coverage on your freedom of choice certificate. That means that no matter what, whenever you pass away, your family will have this certificate and they'll be able to use it for $50,000. The nice thing about that is whenever you go into the funeral home, Mary, you're not going to walk in and say, hey, I got $50,000 on a certificate. If you walk in and you tell the funeral home that you have $50,000 on your freedom of choice certificate, what do you think they're going to probably end up charging you for the funeral? Probably $49,000 if they can. So what they say is go in, negotiate your best price. Okay, so let's say you're able to get a funeral for $30,000 for Joe. That's still going to leave how much left on here? $20,000. That $20,000 will get paid out back to the family tax-free to make sure that you have cash to wrap up any other costs or anything that you need after that point. Does that make sense, Joe? Does it make sense, Mary? So option A will make sure that not only do you have all of your funeral and final arrangements taken care of, but it's also going to leave behind a $20,000 legacy for your family to have in place as well. Now, option B, what this will do, this will put $40,000 in place. And this will make sure that, you know, whenever you pass away, all of your funeral and final expenses are taken care of. And you'll have maybe about $10,000 left as a legacy to go back to the family. Option C, that'll have $30,000 in place on your freedom of choice certificate, and that'll guarantee to make sure that your funeral and final expenses are never burdened to your family ever again. Okay. Now for option A, you can see right here, it's going to be about $42 a week. Option C will be about $36 a week, and option B, 36, and option C, $30 a week. Okay. Nice thing is, all less than a cable bill. It's all less than a cup of coffee at the end of the day. But the main thing, Joe and Mary, is we need to make sure you can qualify first. So while you think about what's best for your family, I just need to make sure you can qualify first. And then I'd go start qualifying the questions. It's called assuming the sale. We all joke and kid, at the end of a day, you're just going to lean in and go for that kiss, and you're either going to get it or you're not. You're not going to ask for them to sign a contract first. Can we sign a kiss agreement? It's you got to assume the sale, right? So that's what you do.
So Tommy, you don't even have them pick an option. You just go straight into the qualifying.
Yeah. I say, while you think about what's best for your family, I need to make sure you can even qualify first. And now they're on the edge of their seat. They don't even know if they can get it.
Okay, so then after the qualifying questions, do you go back to the ABC and then say, okay, so Joe and Mary, take into consideration that your family could use all of this coverage and then some. Is that when you hit them with that?
Yes. But I would say, taking into consideration that your family definitely needs this coverage in place. Okay. I want you to know that based upon the questions you've answered, you actually can qualify. I'm not 100% sure. As long as what you told me though is correct on there should be no reason why you wouldn't be able to qualify for the benefits. And in fact, seems like you're pretty healthy enough to actually take advantage of option A. So you actually would be able to take advantage of option A. Now, the most important thing is making sure that you take advantage of the benefits while you can qualify. So, Joe, Mary, which option are you going to go with today, or which option makes the most sense to you? Yeah, taking into consideration that your family needs this coverage, based upon the questions, the way you answered your questions, there should be no reason why you wouldn't be able to qualify for the benefits. And in fact, you can even qualify for option A. So what they say about life insurance is you want to get as much as you can, obviously when you can. You're only going to be as healthy as your last doctor's visit. So they always want you to try and qualify for as much as you can when you're young and when you're healthy. Because you know what happens when you get older. What typically happens to our health when we get older, Joe, Mary? It typically goes down, right? And what typically happens to the cost of insurance whenever we get older? That goes up. So, I say, another thing you can hit them with is this. If you want to just throw this in there or save this for maybe a rebuttal, I like to use it as a rebuttal, guys. But if you feel like you just want to slam dunk it, you could just slam dunk it, right? But I like to use it as a rebuttal, and then you could slam dunk it with it. Or you could say, and Joe and Mary, if I had to ask you, what would you say would be the most important thing in the world to you guys? Would you say family? Of course, right? Now, if I had to ask you, if you had to put a price tag on your family, what would you say family is worth to you? Well, priceless, right? Well, fortunately, there's a price to protecting our family, which is less than a cable bill, less than a cup of coffee at the end of the day. But if I had to ask you, when do you think the most important time to start protecting your family would be? Today? Yeah, well, probably yesterday, right? So what we need to do today is we need to make sure that we get your foot in the door with these benefits, but make sure that we keep it comfortable at the same time. Is option A comfortable for you? Or would you like to adjust it and get your foot in the door with option B right now? Most members go with option B, Joe. Oh, I just didn't think it would be this expensive. Oh, I can definitely understand that. But, based upon the union discount benefits that you're getting right now, most people pay the $140 a month. They typically pay that a week for benefits like this. And you shut up and close. Always agree. Oh, I can understand. I agree. $142 for me. I didn't understand it at first, but when I learned, most people pay $142 a week for benefits like this. And then you always got your normal closes. If they want to give you, I want to think about it, you could let them know, sit back, relax. I understand where you're at, and go through all that with them. One thing I like to tell them is, I definitely understand where you're at, Joe, wanting to think about it. Me and my wife, we don't typically just run out and just buy anything all the time. We like to think things through. And what's nice about these benefits, Joe, is that when they set these up for all the organizations that we work with, we work with over 30,000 different groups and unions and organizations across the world. And the reason that these organizations work with us is because the benefits that we provide to them are tried, they're tested, they're true, and they are the best benefits that are out there. If there was something better, then these organizations would be using those benefits and not these. What they did is in order to allow us to work with these organizations, they have to have a financial advisor check these benefits and approve them before we're allowed to even work with the steelworkers or the United Mine Workers or the American Federation of Teachers or the police or the nurses or the roadway workers. We're not allowed to work with any of those organizations until their financial advisor checks and approves these benefits 3 times. So they check them, they double check them, and they triple check these benefits every single year just to make sure that these are the best benefits that are offered to all their members. So if you think about it, Joe, if you have over 30,000 organizations triple checking these benefits, they are essentially checked almost 100,000 times before they even came out here to see you today, just to make sure that they were the best benefits for you. So sometimes, I understand, sometimes it may feel like, we need to think about it, but if we think about it, they already thought about it for us. That's why they put this plan in place, because most families, they don't plan to fail. They fail to plan, right, Joe? So they came up with this plan because they call this the family plan for the family man. Just like you said, Joe, the most important thing in the world to you is obviously our family, right? So what we'll do today for you guys, we'll make sure we get your foot in the door with the benefits for your family. But we'll make sure we keep it comfortable at the same time, okay? So, Joe, I'll just go back and fill the application out, assuming that's so. That's for people that want to think about it. I tell them, I understand you want to think about it, but if you think about it, they already thought about it for you. Oh, you can't afford it? I understand where you're at. I can agree with you. Always agree and proceed. The number one rule of sales is always agree and proceed, right? I can agree. So you're going to say, I can understand, how $20, $30 a week may sometimes feel unaffordable, Joe. But if you think about it, if it's hard for us to come up with $30 a week now, and we have Joe and Mary, and you guys are both here together, could you imagine how difficult it's going to be for Mary to come up with 30 or 40,000, and she has to do it all on her own, and nobody's here to help her? So I know sometimes it may feel like we can't afford to set aside that $30, but at the end of the day, if you think about it, we can't afford not to set aside that $30 for our family. Does that make sense? So at the end of the day today, what we'll do is we'll make sure that you get your foot in the door, but keep it comfortable at the same time. And Joe and Mary, just keep in mind, these benefits were designed to help protect your family. These benefits have protect millions of families, and we're going to be there for you no matter what. But I want you to know that these benefits are not designed to cause a financial burden on your family, okay? And we cannot allow the lack of having this program cause a financial disaster either. So what we'll do today is we'll make sure neither one of those happen. Either way, Joe and Mary, there's a problem, and that's why they came up with the freedom of choice certificate for you and your family to help that problem. And what we could do today is basically we could take care of that problem so you never have to worry about it again. Either I can take that problem with me whenever I leave here today, or unfortunately that problem will still be here and it'll be left behind for you guys. So what we can do is get your foot in the door with the benefits today, and I'll just go into another close again. And you see how I'm just keep rolling them off my tongue? I'm going to just sit there and keep hitting them with, I'm going to smile. Yeah, okay. I understand. I agree. But if you think about it, and I agree. But one thing to consider, I agree. But let me tell you a story about this guy over here. I agree. Oh, I definitely understand that as well. But let me tell you about this guy over here. How about him? I'll give him 4 different stories about 4 different guys. I'll stick it. I'm staying in. I'm staying in the fight. Ever see Top Gun? Maverick jumps out of the fight. He gets out of the fight, right? So you got to stay engaged in the fight. You can't pull out. Can't pull out because you get nervous getting shot at. Stay in there and just keep hitting them with it. They're going to admire your persistency. And if you keep working at it, you're going to get better at it, and you're going to help a lot more people get some life insurance. There's a lot more people to have life insurance. If they told me no the first time, no, there's a lot of people that would not have life insurance right now. It takes 5 no's to get to a yes, typically. So it's 5 no's. 5 no's, I'm just telling you, 5 of them. So don't get frustrated when they're giving you these no's. They give me the no's. They give the best people in the world the no's. It's just silly shit that people say half the time. It's not even like a real rebuttal. It's just some wacky thing that they're just saying just to see what you say back sometimes. So don't take it personally. Some people are just being goofballs, and just keep staying in there with them. That's my best advice I could give you on that. All right, guys. I'm going to rock it onto the next meeting I got to hop onto. Let's have a good, productive day. We need to get some big ALP the last week of the month, guys. Let's start out strong.
That was great, Tommy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tommy.